Hello, my name is Lynn Gillespie, and I will be your guide to discover the 12 high-performance garden characteristics with weekly training videos. A high-performance garden is one of the most fun, productive, and organic gardening experiences you will ever have. A garden that is enjoyable, weed-free, productive, and so very easy to achieve. Hello, I'm Lynn Gillespie, organic farmer and creator of the Abundance Garden course. Today we're here to talk about high performance garden characteristic number 4, which is very little time. So we're going to talk about starting seeds indoors. We can save a lot of time and increase our harvest if we start some of our seeds indoors before the garden is ready. So seeds fall into 3 basic categories. There's plants that we can start that are easy to transplant. There's plants that we can start that are pretty fussy about being transplanted, but we can still do it. And then there's plants that do not like to be transplanted at all, and a lot of times they'll be stunted or they'll just die on you. Okay, the first thing you need to figure out is which category your plant falls into, whether it's an easy transplant, a fussy transplant, or one that does not like to be transplanted. So you could go to our website. We have a page on our blog, and if you go look under High Performance Garden Training number 3, we'll have the list of ones that are easy to transplant, the fussy ones, and the ones that don't like to be transplanted. The other place you can look is on the back of your seed packet. Sometimes there'll be some clues there. It'll say things like sow directly in the garden, or you can start this in a pot 4 weeks ahead of your planting season. So they don't outright tell you if it's fussy or easy to transplant, but they'll kind of give you some clues. So that's a place that you can look to see which category your plants will fit into. So anyways, we're going to start today with some easy transplants. So I'm going to get some seeds and we'll show you how we seed our easy transplants. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to check to see how soon you can plant your seeds before your frost date, before you want to go out in the garden. And a lot of that information will be written on your seed packets, or you're going to find it in your seed catalogs. They'll have a section that should tell you how soon you can plant your seeds out. The next thing that you need to figure out is whether the seeds like to be germinated in a warm location or a cool location. Now, this is my Johnny's seed catalog, and I absolutely love this catalog because of this one feature that it has. It has these charts right here, and this is the germination guide, and it has it for every plant that's in the catalog. And what it does, if you look at it, you can see there's a line here, and that is the lowest temperature that the germination can start. This particular chart is Swiss chard, and at about 40 degrees it'll start doing some germinating. And then as you see the line going up, the germination gets better as the temperature gets better. And so this one peaks out at, what does it say? 40, 50, 60, 70, oh my gosh, like 85 degrees is where this line peaks out. So you can have pretty warm soil to germinate your Swiss chard. And then as you notice that the line starts heading down, and that's the germination rate decreasing as the temperature gets too high. So anyhow, if you get a Johnny's catalog, and I would imagine it's on their website too, you can find these germination charts, which is really cool. One of the things that I've learned over time by using this chart is that, like a plant like, say, like spinach, I can germinate my spinach really easy in the fall, in the winter, in the spring. But then in the summer, it gets really fussy and it won't come up. And what's happening is I'm going past the line and my soil temperatures are too high for it to germinate. So what I started doing is I started sowing in big trays like this, and I would put my soil in there, my seeds in there, and then I would put the whole thing in the walk-in cooler where it's sitting around 38 degrees. And in 7 days, up comes all my spinach. And then I can take those spinach and transplant them out in my beds. So this is really important to kind of know what temperature you're germinating at, especially if you're doing something fussy like spinach. So anyhow, once you decide or find out what temperature that you're going to germinate at, the next thing you need to do is to kind of get an idea of how long it takes to germinate. And that'll also be in the information that comes with your seeds or in your catalogs. And some of the shorter ones that I know of are like radishes. They can germinate in as short as 3 days if the temperature is high enough, because they also have that temperature curve. Some of the longer ones that I've noticed is like celery. Celery can take anywhere between 14 and 21 days. And the reason for the 7-day gap in there is depending on the temperature that you're trying to germinate the celery at. So if you kind of have an idea of how long it takes your plants to germinate, you won't panic if one of them takes 3 weeks and one of them's up in 3 days. So read your packet and get a little information. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to start your journal and start to write this information as you're starting to do your plants, so that next year you have a little bit of reference as to how you want to adjust next year. Like this year I started my tomato plants January 14th to go into the greenhouse, and next year I want to start them January 21st because of the time that they were able to transplant in March into the greenhouse. I noticed that they had gotten a little extra leggy, and I think if I back them up just 1 week, then we should be in really good shape. So those are the kind of things you can write in your journal and start to really hone in on your particular garden in your area. Okay, so let's take a look at some containers. You can plant in just about any container that you would like to. I like to use these are just some greenhouse containers that I have. The main thing that you want to know or have is that you want to have holes in the bottom of your containers so that the water can drain out. You can also just use some, pots that you have around. Typically you want to go ahead and wash these and get them ready for germination. You want to be sure there's no diseases in them. If you don't have any greenhouse pots, you can use like your margarine containers. You can just punch some holes in the bottom of those. Those also work just fine. Okay, now the next thing we need to look at is what kind of soil are we going to germinate in. This is where a lot of people make huge mistakes. They go out into the yard and they dig up some dirt and they put it in their little pot, and then they put their seeds in it. Well, 99% of the soil in our yards is not suitable for germinating seeds. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part it doesn't work really well. The seeds need a couple specific things. They need to be provided with moisture and air to germinate. They don't need any fertilizer to germinate, but they need moisture and air. And so a lot of times the soil in our backyards, it's just too dense, and it'll provide moisture but not enough air, and then the seeds tend to rot. If your soil is really sandy, then you go the other way. Don't have enough moisture, but you have too much air and the seeds won't germinate. So what I'm going to share with you today is one of my family's secret soil mixes. This is our secret seedling mix. I learned this as a child. My folks had greenhouses when I was a kid, so I grew up playing in the dirt. And they had a soil mix that was just spectacular for germinating all the plants that we needed to grow. And there was a lot of plants. So let me tell you what the secret soil mix is for seedlings. Are you ready? Get your pencil out. Okay. So what we want to start with is 3 parts peat moss or the coconut coir. So you want to get your peat moss, break it up. You can measure in any size can you want. And then you want to add to that 1 part sand, and the best sand is like playground sand. And then you want to add to that 1 part perlite. And perlite is it's a white volcanic rock. It's really, it looks like styrofoam, but it's a little grittier than that, and it is a natural substance. So you mix these 3 ingredients together, and then you're going to add some water. And the peat moss or the coconut coir is going to soak up a whole bunch of water, and that's going to be the moisture part that you need to germinate your seeds. The sand and the perlite are going to add, they're a larger particulate, and they're going to add some space so that the air can filter in through there. So between the peat moss or the coconut coir, the sand and the perlite, you're going to get this perfect blend of enough moisture and enough air to germinate your seeds really, really well. So the seeds do not need any nutrients to get started, and actually some nutrients will actually inhibit the seeds from starting. So if you go back to the family secret seedling mix, there's no nutrients provided in that, and that gets the plants off to a good start without the nutrients inhibiting some of the seeds from sprouting. Vegetable seeds are not that touchy. It's mostly flower seeds that will not germinate if there's nutrients in the soil. Okay, so I have some mix here that I made up, and we're going to go ahead and plant a couple seeds. But one of the things that I learned many years ago was that the plant does need nutrients once it kind of gets up and going. So what I just started doing is I put my compost in the very bottom of the container, and then once that plant grows its root down to the bottom of the container, then it can get its nutrients off the bottom, and I don't have to worry about feeding it. So we're going to go ahead and plant some seeds, and we're going to start with compost in the bottom. I have a bucket of compost here. I usually put about a 1/4 inch down in the bottom, and if the plant is not ready for it and it's overwatered, it will just leach out the bottom and it won't bother the plants up on top. Okay, and then we need some soil. Now the next question you're going to have is, well, how deep do I plant the seeds? And so one of the things that you can look at is on your seed packet. It should have that information, how deep to plant the seeds, or in the catalog, or there's kind of a general rule of thumb. You can plant the seeds to 3 times their width. So if a seed is a 1/16 of an inch wide, you can plant it as 3/16 of an inch deep. Or if your seed is like 1/2 inch wide, then you can plant that, what, 1.5 inches deep. So you can kind of use that general rule. Okay, so today we are going to do some easy to transplant plants, and then in a few weeks we'll go ahead and transplant these for you. So I have tomato seeds. Now you want to be sure that you make a label for all your plants. I put what it is, and then I put its born on date on here. So this is the date that'll stay with this plant throughout the whole season. And the reason that I continue to use the date that I plant the seeds is that if I ever want to make adjustments later, like I did on my tomatoes, then I know what date that I planted that, and so it's easier for me to make the adjustments. So get your tag, get your name on it, get the date on it. And we're going to put in a couple tomato seeds. Whoop, other end. I always open these packets upside down so I don't cut off my information. Okay, I'm going to put these seeds a couple inches apart just because I have the space here. In a tray this size, I can grow up to 200 plants at a time in a tray that size. So in this little pot I can probably do a dozen or so. And these seeds, as you can see, are about a 1/16 of an inch, so I can put about 3/16 inch of soil on top of them. And then we're going to do some lettuce. So they are easy to transplant. You can see the lettuce seeds are pretty narrow. They're a little bit long, but we're going to go by the width, not the length. Okay, a few lettuce seeds in there. Now I'm going to take my mix, and sometimes it's a little chunky, so I just want to grind it between my hands, and that gets the particle size down even smaller in case my peat moss is a little chunky. I'm just barely going to cover these because they are very small seeds. All right. Now the next thing that we want to do with these is we want to water these. Now if you've already set the seed to a certain level, you don't want to come across them with a hose and move the seeds and get them at the wrong depth or wash them off. I've actually seen some of my trays like this that got hit by water, and all the plants come up on one side and the other side didn't have any. So a little better way to do that is just to soak that. So I have a tub of water here. I'm just going to set these down in. And what will happen here is that water will come up through the holes in the bottom and it'll soak the soil until it's just super saturated. Yeah, they're already falling to the bottom. Okay. So once we get these soaked, then we'll want to put a piece of plastic wrap or a plastic dome over the top. And what we're trying to do is hold the moisture into the top of the soil. Yeah, here comes the water coming up. Okay, once you have them soaked enough, and you want to kind of see some water on the surface. I'm going to set that there to let it drain just a minute. This is really one of the very best ways to soak your seeds and your seedlings once they come up. Okay, if you don't have a plastic dome, this is a really great way to make one, is you just get the cheap old plastic wrap from the grocery store. You put that on there. You can, if you want to, add a rubber band around that. And then you want to take your pencil and you want to poke some air holes, because remember, we need air and moisture. So this makes the moisture level a little higher on the surface. And you put your tag in there like that. Okay? So that's how you can start your seeds. The next thing we need to do is remember to put them in a place where the temperature is just right. Most seeds, almost all seeds, would like something between 65 and 70, which is convenient because that's what most of our houses are at. If you want something just a little bit warmer, feel up on top of your refrigerator. Sometimes there's enough warmth there, you can feel it on your hand, that it germinates plants really, really well. One place that you don't want to germinate your plants is on a windowsill. Because the sun comes in and it goes through this plastic, it's going to start cooking the surface of the soil and making it too hot, which can kill your seeds. And then at night, windows tend to be a little bit cold, so you're going to get this huge fluctuation in temperature. So I would kind of stay away from the windows when you do that. We have a large germination chamber that we use here in our commercial operation. And if you guys are curious as to how we germinate our seeds, I can do up to, I think I've gotten 146 of these trays stuffed in this one cabinet. It's just pretty amazing. But we did a farm mini tour on it, on our germination chamber, and you can go to our website, thelivingfarm.org, and if you look under the mini tours, you can see the inside of our germination chamber and see how we germinate. So, okay. Once you've germinated, let's say this is gone for 6 or 7 days, and you start to see the seeds, what they're going to do is they're going to uncurl like this, and then they're going to stand up straight. So as soon as you see them starting to curve over before they stand up straight, you can take them out and put them in the light, and then you want to remove your plastic. And then at this point, you're probably going to want to water them, and I suggest you go right back into the tub and let that soak up one more time. And that'll do a good job of getting them soaked up and watered. Okay, so this is how you do the easy transplants. And next week we're going to do the fussy transplants, because it takes just a little different style of planting for them. So I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for another edition of the High Performance Garden Video Training Series. Want access to more videos like this? Click the link in the description below this video to join the High Performance Garden community for free. Community members receive weekly High Performance Garden video trainings, articles, and trade secrets delivered directly to your inbox. Do you know anyone else who is frustrated and struggling with their garden? Share this video so they can begin to transform their garden into a high-performance garden too. They'll thank you later. If you want to transform your garden into a high-performance garden in one season, you can enroll in the Abundance Garden course, the only gardening course where you can garden step by step with your gardening coach. Click the link in the description below this video to learn more about the Abundance Garden course. If you have a topic you would like us to make a video about, please send us an email. Or if you have a gardening question, you can also email us at thelivingfarm@tds.net. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. May your garden be easy, fun, productive, and always organic.